You've been captured, not by a foreign enemy, by a government that acts like you owe it everything and gives you almost nothing in return. Every hour you work, gone, before you even touch it. Every step you take to get ahead, taxed. Every win you try and stack for your family, penalized. This isn't paying your fair share. This is a system designed to grind you into submission. Work harder, getting less, and somehow still being blamed for not doing enough. This isn't tax. This is economic containment with a national flag draped over it. Let's break this wide open. The average Canadian household pays 42% of their income in taxes. That's not a typo. That's more than you spend on food, housing, and clothing combined. And what do we get in return? Emergency rooms shutting down, tent cities growing under glass condos, gas bills taxed twice while interest rates choke your mortgage. School budgets slashed, groceries unaffordable, transit falling apart, zero accountability, and less hope every year. And yeah, some of you call me a grifter in the comments, a con artist, someone who takes and gives nothing back. Sounds less like me and more like your country, as you hand over 40% of your income for nothing in return. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly how this machine keeps you broke, dependent, and distracted while it drains you in plain sight, and how to start fighting back before they take even more. Let's start with where it all begins, your paycheck. Your paycheck is a lie. You think you earn $80,000 a year? You don't. That's the number your employer says. But by the time it gets through the government's maze of taxes, deductions, and clawbacks, you're lucky to keep 50 cents on the dollar. Federal tax, provincial tax, CPP, EI, benefit phase-outs, childcare offsets, healthcare surcharges. You never touch your full income because it's never really yours. And if you finally work your way up, you're punished again. That raise, that promotion, that overtime, it doesn't lift your life. It bumps you into a higher bracket and takes even more. That's not income, it's bait. And the trap is working because the more you move, the more they take. And still, they tell you it's not enough. You made it through the deductions gauntlet. Now you've got your pay. Time to live, right? Wrong. Everything you buy, they're waiting. Groceries taxed, phone bill taxed, insurance taxed, used furniture taxed, funerals taxed, even gas station coffee taxed. Doesn't matter how you cut your costs, downgrade your plans, how many staycations you go on, and how many dollars you stretch. The government is at every till, taking another slice. And if you think you can at least heat your home in peace, let's talk about the carbon tax, Canada's favorite scam. Here's what Canadians were dealing with right up until this year. A real Enbridge bill, gas usage, $178, carbon tax, $191. Then HST on top of that, a tax on a tax. And if you lived in Alberta, Saskatchewan, or anywhere with an actual winter, you didn't have a choice. You heated your home or you froze. You drove to work or you lost your job. They finally scrapped the consumer carbon tax in April 2025, but don't think you gotta win, because the people writing these policies never felt it anyway. They don't pay their own bills, they expense their gas, they work in offices where the lights never turn off. You are the one cutting back just to keep up. And even without the carbon tax, every month the gap still gets wider. They said it was about the environment, it wasn't. It was about the revenue. And here's the kicker. The scam didn't end, it just shifted. You're still not funding clean energy, you're still propping up a system that can't stop spending. Inflation, the silent killer. Groceries up 20-30%, gas spiked, home insurance brutal, car maintenance doubled, interest rates historic highs. But your tax bracket didn't move. You're still being taxed like your money has the same value it did back in 2018. It doesn't. That's called bracket creep, and it's robbery with a spreadsheet, because they don't need to raise your rate. They just let inflation do its dirty work. You lose purchasing power, but keep paying the same. Every year, your dollar buys less, but your taxes never go down. That's the trick. They pretend your life hasn't changed, and they keep billing you for a version of you that no longer exists. You own a home, you're a walking bank machine for your city. Your streets look worse, your local library closed, your garbage pickup is late, your parks are falling apart, you don't feel safer, but your bill's still rising. Why? Because your city didn't budget like adults. They overspent, underplanned, and now they need a top up from you. You don't get to vote on it. You don't get a refund if service declines. You just get an invoice. Effort is a threat. This system is built to punish motion. Start a side hustle, taxed. Sell a car privately, taxed. Flip furniture, taxed. Rent your basement, taxed. Pay your mortgage, squeezed by interest rates they raise. Even the act of trying to do better is seen as suspicious because the government doesn't want you to graduate from the system. They want you to be grateful just to survive in it.
I'm not going to be able to pay my mortgage on my house, so maybe we can move into a nice fucking one-bedroom apartment.
They don't want you building, they want you working, clocking in, paying in, and staying in. Because when you win, you start asking questions and you start keeping more of what's yours. The second you do that, you become a problem. This isn't about contribution, it's about containment. We're not funding services, we're funding dysfunction. The signs are everywhere. Empty storefronts, police budgets up, response times down. Nurses quitting, infrastructure crumbling, schools overrun, cities multiplying, and yet they keep charging you more because this was never about fairness. It was about never letting you get ahead. You're not being taxed to fund services, you're being taxed to fund damage control. And they don't care if you can't keep up because they're not feeling the pain. You are. Now I know my thumbnails are crazy and sometimes I'm a little intense. But if I wasn't a little crazy, you wouldn't still be watching right now. The market's brutal and I want to help. That's why I built a free seller's guide. Click the link below and grab it. Now let's look at where your money is actually going. The federal government is running a $40 billion with a B deficit this year. But what is that money doing? Not fixing hospitals, not building housing, not protecting your neighborhood. It's servicing their own debt. We are now spending more on interest payments than we do on national defense. Read that again. They printed billions during COVID. They handed out bank checks. They over-leveraged, overspent, and now you're on the hook. This year, Canada will spend $54 billion just to cover the interest on their debt. That's not funding progress. It's funding past mistakes, and they don't stop. They keep borrowing because they know you'll pay, not through a single bill, but through 1,000 small cuts. The real cost of inflation isn't what you think. They tell you inflation is temporary, just a bump, a phase, transitory, a market correction. But look at your life. $400 grocery runs, $2,400 mortgage payments, $800 car repairs, $10 butter. Nothing about this is temporary. This is the new ceiling and it's being locked in. And here's the scam. While your costs go up, your income stays flat and your tax rates don't adjust. Inflation becomes a shadow tax. They never raise your rate. They just devalue your dollar through more money printing and act like they didn't do it. You're not making bad decisions. You're playing a game where the rules change every time you take a step. You think, if I budget harder, if I just pick up a side hustle, if I just ride this out. But this isn't you versus the market. This is you versus the machine. Housing the illusion of ownership. You bought a house because that used to mean stability. But now it means debt, it means risk, it means you're the backstop for every city council failure. Your property tax goes up, but your street looks worse. Your mortgage payments double as your home value plummets. Meanwhile, development freezes, skilled trades leave, permits stall, and supply dies. So what happens? The next generation gets priced out, and the current one gets trapped. You can't sell without losing, you can't rent without bleeding, and you can't move without triggering a fresh wave of penalties. They're not fixing affordability, they're using unaffordability to keep you obedient. Because the more vulnerable you are, the more grateful you are to stay still. Small businesses are being smothered. You'd think Canada would protect the people who create jobs, drive growth, and fuel innovation. Instead, they're taxed harder, audited faster, and offered less support than ever. Ask any small business owner. Rent's up, input costs are up, labor is scarce, regulation is brutal, compliance is exhausting, and profit erased by the CRA. Meanwhile, big corporations skate because they can afford the lawyers, the loopholes, and the lobbyists. You can't. You just want to feed your family. And every day it feels like you're being punished for trying. Entrepreneurship used to be a way out. Now it's a target on your back. Everything's getting worse while they get paid. Let's talk about outcomes. ER wait times, worst in the developed world. Housing affordability, second worst in the G7. Infrastructure, aging, underfunded, collapsing. Public transit, delayed, unreliable. Crime rising, drugs pouring in, homelessness exploding, and yet your MP just got a raise. Ottawa just explained its spending, and government pensions remain untouched, untouchable, and gold-plated. They voted for what they get. You pay for what you don't. That's not democracy, that's entitlement at scale. Programs are bloated, results are starving, the CRA, record budget, record backlog, record audits on average Canadians. Immigration, record numbers, no plan to house, integrate, or employ. Green energy, billions spent. No meaningful shift in output or reliance. Healthcare, billions pledged, and nurses still quitting by the hundreds. This isn't incompetence, it's misalignment. The system isn't broken, it's not built for you. Because if it was, you'd feel it. So what can you do? Here's the trap they don't want you to see. Most Canadians have accepted this as normal. They've stopped fighting, stopped questioning, stopped believing it can change. And that's exactly what Ottawa wants, compliance by exhaustion. But here's what you still control: where you live, how you position your money, who you work with, what you consume, and how much of this you tolerate. If you're a homeowner in the Greater Golden Horseshoe, that starts with one move: get out of the trap on your own terms. Yes, my thumbnails are intense, and some of you probably think I'm a little crazy. But if I wasn't, you wouldn't still be watching right now. And if you're still here, you already know this market stuff. I want to help. That's why I built a free seller guide. Click the link below, grab it. And when you want straight answers about your place, book a quick call. No pressure, just the truth. Back to the madness. Let's stop pretending. You're not struggling because you're lazy. You're not falling behind because you're irresponsible. You're not paycheck to paycheck because you didn't try. You're here because the system is rigged. Your income is taxed. Your survival is taxed. Your heat, gas, phone, groceries, all taxed. Your savings eroded by inflation. Your plans bent around interest rates. And your effort treated like a threat. And the ones doing it, they're thriving, while you check your balance before every grocery run. They vote themselves raises, pensions, and tax-free perks. And unless you adjust now, it doesn't get better. The trap isn't coming, you're already in it.